Seoul had finally exhaled. After months of chaos, the gossip had died down. The tabloids had found new victims, and for the first time in years, Jun-suk could walk through the city without seeing mockery in every headline. He and Charity had built something new, a quiet, confident life surrounded by laughter and tiny footsteps. The twins had learned their first words, and every morning, their voices filled the penthouse like sunlight. But peace, as always, attracts envy. One Monday morning, Jun-suk stood before a boardroom full of his company's directors, all in sleek suits, all pretending loyalty. The meeting was supposed to be routine, but the air felt heavy. Ladies and gentlemen, Jun-suk began calmly. Our company's profits have grown by 42% this quarter, and our new foundation for families struggling with infertility has gained national support. Let's keep building with integrity. A slow clap broke the silence. It was Mr. Kong, one of the older board members, charming in public, venomous in private. Integrity? He said with a smirk. You speak of integrity, Mr. Cha. Yet rumors say your own wife controls company files without clearance. The room went still. What did you just say? Jun-suk asked, his voice sharp. Kong leaned back casually. A confidential business proposal was leaked to our rival firm last week. The source's email was traced back to your household login. Whispers filled the room like the hiss of snakes. Jun-suk's heart pounded. He had always trusted his home system. Only he and Charity had access. That's impossible, he said firmly. My wife doesn't involve herself in company matters. Kong smiled, eyes glinting. Perhaps she wanted to help you unintentionally. Love makes people careless. By the time Jun-suk reached home, the rumor had already reached the internet. Nurse-turned-wife accused of corporate espionage. Charity's double life. Is she the real power behind Cha Group? Charity was sitting in the nursery, feeding one of the twins, when he walked in with his jaw clenched. Babe, she said softly, sensing his storm. What's wrong? He hesitated, then told her everything. Charity froze, staring at him like she'd been slapped. They're blaming me? For their stolen files. Yes, he said, and they're already spreading it. She stood furious. So after all this, they still want to turn me into the villain? Fine, let's go to that boardroom together tomorrow. I'll face them myself. Charity. No, Jun-suk. I didn't come this far to let snakes whisper in peace. The next morning, the board members arrived to find Charity already seated at the table, dressed in a crisp white blazer and black heels. Her confidence filled the room before she even spoke. Good morning, gentlemen, she said coolly. I'm the woman you've been gossiping about. Let's save time. Show me your evidence. Kong cleared his throat, fumbling through files. We traced the email to your home IP address. And? She said, arching an eyebrow. Did the email sign itself Love? Charity? A few men snickered quietly. Kong narrowed his eyes. It's enough for suspicion. Suspicion isn't proof, she replied, voice like glass. You all hated me from the day I walked into his life because I didn't fit your definition of power. But let me remind you, power isn't inherited. It's earned. The room fell silent. Jun-suk watched, pride swelling in his chest. His wife wasn't just defending herself. She was schooling them in courage. While you hide behind titles, she continued, I've been running a charity that changes real lives. Maybe that's why your conscience is allergic to my name. The chairman cleared his throat awkwardly. Enough. Unless there's evidence of malice, this case is closed. Kang's jaw tightened, humiliated. But inside, he was already planning his next move. That evening, as they drove home, Charity sighed deeply. Do you think they'll ever stop? Jun-suk glanced at her, smiling softly. No, and that's why we'll keep winning. She chuckled. You sound like a drama hero. He grinned. I learned from one. But the calm didn't last long. 2 weeks later, Jun-suk received an anonymous message. They're planning your fall. Someone's leaking inside your board. Attached was a photo. Kong shaking hands with a rival CEO in a private restaurant. Jun-suk stared at the image for a long time, then picked up his phone. Charity, he said. We're not waiting for them to strike first. That night, they worked side by side in his office. She handled digital traces while he went through financial records. The twins slept in a nearby crib, unaware that their parents were fighting a silent war for their future. Hours passed. Charity suddenly gasped. "Babe, look at this." She turned her laptop toward him. "Kong created a shell company under your name. He's been rerouting funds and setting it up to look like embezzlement." Jun-suk's eyes widened. That snake. They compiled every file, every transaction, every timestamp. It was all there, enough to destroy Kong completely. The next morning, Jun-suk walked into the boardroom with quiet fury. Charity joined him, holding a tablet. The same men who once whispered against them sat in uneasy silence. "Mr. Kong," Jun-suk began calmly, "you accused my wife of leaking information. I assume you value transparency?" Kong sneered. "Of course." "Good," Jun-suk said. "Then you won't mind if we share what we found." Charity connected her tablet to the projector. Instantly, screenshots, bank records, and emails appeared on the big screen. Every transfer, every signature, all leading back to Kong. The room gasped. Kang's face drained of color. That's fabricated," he shouted. Jun-suk smiled coldly. "Interesting, because these are verified by our internal auditors, and the police are on their way." Right on cue, the doors opened. 2 officers stepped in. As they escorted Kong out, he spat bitterly. "You'll regret this, both of you." Charity smiled sweetly. "We already did, and it didn't kill us." Later that evening, the Cha penthouse glowed with soft lights. Charity was on the balcony, gazing at Seoul's skyline as fireworks from a nearby festival bloomed in the sky. Jun-suk came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Do you ever miss your quiet life?" She leaned back against him. "Sometimes. But then I look at you and realize, I traded sleep for purpose." He chuckled. "You're dangerous when you sound poetic." She turned, smiling. "And you love it." He kissed her softly, then whispered, "You turned my curse into a miracle, Charity." She smiled faintly. "And you turned my struggle into home." That night, as the twins slept peacefully, Seoul glittered below. A city that had once laughed at them now whispered their names with admiration. The rain had fallen all night over Seoul, painting the city in silver reflections. Inside the penthouse, warmth glowed from every corner. Faint lullabies mixed with the sound of tiny giggles. Charity sat on the floor, cross-legged in soft pajamas, surrounded by toys. Her curls were loose, framing her glowing face as she played peekaboo with Min-ho and Ji-ho, the 2 perfect little miracles that had rewritten her life. Min-ho, the bold one, always giggled louder. Ji-ho, the calmer twin, watched his brother like he was learning the secret code of chaos. "Look at you two," Charity cooed, pretending to scold them. "Your daddy's already tired of your 3 a.m. concerts." Behind her, Jun-suk appeared, half awake in his robe, holding 2 baby bottles and a tired smile. His once-cold billionaire aura had melted into something tender, something real. "You said 3 a.m.? Try 2, 3, and 4. He murmured, handing her 1 bottle and sitting beside her. "They have better stamina than my entire company's staff." Charity burst out laughing. "You see? I told you they'd inherit my energy, not your silence." He looked at her laughter, her warmth, the glow in her eyes, and his heart squeezed. For decades, he had been Seoul's loneliest billionaire, hiding behind glass walls. But now, her voice, their son's laughter, this was the sound of home. Ji-ho babbled. Spilling milk on his bib, Jun-suk laughed softly and wiped it with care. "Even messy. They look like angels," he whispered. Charity smiled proudly. "Of course, they're mine. But they've got your eyes and that stubborn pout." He chuckled. "The same pout you say you hate?" "Exactly," she teased, bumping his shoulder playfully. They sat there a while, the mighty Jun-suk, the woman who defied Seoul's judgment, and the 2 little souls who silenced the world's laughter. By evening, the rain stopped. Charity stood by the window, watching the skyline shimmer. Jun-suk came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. She leaned back into him, closing her eyes. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" she whispered. "Every second," he replied softly. "From a man who cried alone in darkness, to this. He kissed her shoulder gently. Charity, you didn't just give me children. You gave me life again. She turned, cupping his face. And you gave me a reason to stay. Their lips met, slow, deep, filled with everything words couldn't carry. Just then, a loud wail cut through the room. They froze, then burst out laughing. The twins, Charity sighed. They really hate romantic timing. Maybe they're jealous, Jun-suk teased. They want more attention. Charity walked toward the nursery, laughing. Fine, you get Ji-ho. I'll handle Min-ho before he starts a protest. Inside the nursery, soft night lights glowed over the twins' cribs. The boys kicked and whimpered. Charity hummed a gentle African lullaby, her mother's favorite, while Jun-suk patted Ji-ho's back. Slowly, the twins drifted off to sleep. When Charity looked up, she caught Jun-suk's gaze. He was smiling, a smile so raw it made her heart ache. You know, he whispered. Sometimes I wonder how I deserved this. She smiled faintly. Maybe you finally stopped pretending you were okay, and God rewarded your honesty. He took her hand, pressing it to his lips. You're my miracle, Charity. And they, she said, glancing at the twins, are our proof. Later that night, they sat on the rooftop, their favorite escape. The city glittered beneath them like spilled stars. Jun-suk wrapped a blanket around Charity, and she leaned her head on his shoulder. Promise me, she whispered. No matter what happens, we'll protect this peace. I promise, he said. Even if the world laughs again, this time, I'll laugh back. She smiled, teasing. And I'll fight back. He laughed softly, kissing her forehead. My bold black queen. Below them, soul-buzzed cars, lights, life. But up here, it was just them. Two lovers, two babies, one unshakable love story. And for the first time, Jun-suk didn't feel like the billionaire who lost his pride. He felt like the man who found his heaven. Morning broke softly over the skyline of Seoul, its golden light brushing across the penthouse like the first note of a love song. The city outside roared with life, but inside the Cha residence, a different kind of melody ruled. The laughter of two toddlers who had inherited every ounce of mischief from their parents. Charity was in the kitchen, wearing a loose t-shirt and fuzzy slippers, trying to prepare breakfast. The twins, now 2 years old, had turned the living room into a playground of toy cars, crayons, and giggles. Ji-ho, don't feed the pancake to the dog, she shouted, but her voice came out between laughter. Min-ho, his brother, stood proudly beside the small white puppy Jun-suk had bought for them, holding a spatula like a sword. Mommy, I protect breakfast, he declared in his tiny accent, puffing out his chest. Charity leaned on the counter, laughing so hard her sides hurt. Oh, you're your father's son for sure, dramatic and bossy. From the hallway, Jun-suk appeared, wearing black pajamas and a sleepy grin. Who's bossy? You, she teased. And your son just declared himself the guardian of pancakes. He chuckled, walking over to the chaos, crouching beside his boys. Ah, my brave warrior. Pancakes need good soldiers. Ji-ho clapped his little hands and said, Appa funny. Jun-suk looked up at Charity, eyes soft. They talk more every day. She smiled, her heart swelling. And you said you'd be fine with dogs instead of kids, she teased, walking to him and adjusting his robe. He wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her closer. I didn't know I could have both. Their laughter melted into a kiss, soft and natural, until Min-ho squealed, You, Appa, kiss mommy again. They both burst into laughter. By late morning, the house smelled of pancakes, strawberries, and warmth. Charity placed 2 little plates on the twins' chairs while Jun-suk poured coffee for her. The once empty penthouse, cold and echoing, now felt like a living dream. After breakfast, they decided to go out. The twins were dressed in matching blue coats, tiny sneakers, and bucket hats that made them look like baby K-drama stars. Charity tied her hair in a bun and wore jeans with a white blouse. Jun-suk put on a dark trench coat and sunglasses, though everyone in Seoul already knew his face. Ready for war? Charity teased as she strapped the boys in their stroller. War. Public outing with twins, she said dramatically. You'll see. He laughed, holding the door open. I've handled billion-dollar deals. How hard can it be? An hour later, he understood. They had barely stepped into Latte Mall before chaos erupted. People whispered, gasped, took photos. The same tabloids that once called him the infertile heir were now snapping pictures of the perfect family. Charity held her head high, graceful, bold, unbothered, while Jun-suk kept his composure, pushing the stroller. "Oh my God, that's them," one woman whispered. "Those twins are so cute," another gushed. "Can you believe it? He really has kids." Charity smiled at the murmurs, whispering to him, "Let them talk. Every word is a reminder that God writes better stories than rumors." He looked at her, pride swelling. "You always know what to say." Ji-ho suddenly shouted, "Mommy, ice cream." And Min-ho joined in, "Ice cream, ice cream." Charity laughed. Okay, let's get ice cream before they riot." As they walked toward the ice cream shop, cameras followed. But for once, Jun-suk didn't care. Let the world see. Let them see the truth that love had conquered his pain. He bought ice cream for the twins, vanilla with rainbow sprinkles, and one for Charity, who winked at him over her cone. "You're spoiling them," she said. "They're mine. I'll spoil them forever," he replied softly, and she believed him. That night, back home, Charity bathed the twins while Jun-suk cleaned up toys. The bathroom echoed with laughter and bubbles. Ji-ho splashed too much, soaking Charity's hair. "Ji-ho, you'll flood the penthouse," she yelled through laughter. Jun-suk peeked in, smirking. "Looks like you're the one who needs a bath." She flicked water at him. "You come help then, Mr. Billionaire." He rolled up his sleeves, joining in. The four of them laughed until their stomachs hurt. When the twins finally fell asleep, Charity sat by their cribs, stroking their tiny hair. Jun-suk stood behind her, watching the glow in her eyes. "You're incredible," he whispered. She looked up. "No, we are. You fought the world for this family, Jun-suk." He knelt beside her, taking her hand. "I'd do it again 1,000 times." Their eyes locked, full of love and shared battles. Later, as midnight blanketed Seoul, they stood on the balcony, watching the city lights. Charity leaned against the railing, while Jun-suk wrapped his arms around her from behind. "You ever think about the past?" she asked quietly. "Every day," he said. "But I don't hate it anymore. If I hadn't been broken, I wouldn't have found you." She smiled faintly. "And if I hadn't been bold enough to love you, Seoul would still be laughing instead of watching our miracle." He kissed the top of her head. "You make me believe in second chances. And you make me believe in forever." Below them, cars glowed like fireflies. Inside, the twins stirred softly, safe and loved. Charity turned, resting her head against his chest. "You know what, Jun-suk? I think we're the happiest family in Seoul." He smiled, his voice a whisper against her hair. "We're not just happy, Charity. We're legendary." The night began with laughter. The penthouse glowed with soft amber lights, the twins chasing each other around the coffee table while Charity filmed their giggles on her phone. Jun-suk, still in his white shirt from work, sat on the couch pretending to be a monster, growling as the boys squealed and ran behind their mother for safety. "Appa scary," Min-ho shouted, clutching her leg. "Appa cute," Ji-ho argued, and Charity burst into laughter. "Looks like one of them inherited my honesty," she teased, sticking her tongue out at Jun-suk. He raised a brow, pretending to look offended. "So I'm not scary anymore? Only to investors," she shot back. The warmth, the teasing, the sound of little feet, everything felt perfect, until it didn't. Around midnight, the house was quiet. Charity tucked the twins in, kissing their foreheads. But just as she was about to leave the room, Ji-ho whimpered in his sleep. She turned back, brushing his cheek. He was burning hot. Her heart dropped. "Jun-suk," she called, her voice trembling. He rushed in instantly. "What's wrong?" She pressed her hand to Ji-ho's forehead. "He's burning up. It's not normal." Panic flickered in his eyes, the kind of fear that no amount of wealth could silence. "I'll call the doctor," he said quickly, already reaching for his phone. Charity lifted Ji-ho into her arms. rocking him gently as he cried weakly. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's here." Her voice cracked with every word. The private doctor arrived within minutes, and the penthouse transformed from peaceful home to emergency ward. Thermometers, oxygen checks, medical bags on the floor. Jun-suk stood beside Charity, holding her hand so tight his knuckles turned white. "It's a high fever," the doctor said, adjusting Ji-ho's foredrip. "We'll need to monitor him closely through the night. He might have an infection." An infection. That word echoed in Charity's mind like a curse. Hours passed. Charity refused to sleep. She sat by Ji-ho's bed, whispering prayers between tears. Jun-suk stayed behind her, rubbing her shoulders, watching the woman who had given him everything fight to stay strong. At one point, Min-ho stirred from his crib, reaching out his little hand. "Mommy sad," he mumbled. Charity forced a smile, walking to him. "No, baby. Mommy's just tired." But as soon as she turned away, tears streamed down her cheeks. Jun-suk stood there, helpless. All his money, all his power, useless against the sight of his tiny son lying weak and still. He clenched his fists. "If I could trade places with him, I would," he whispered. Charity turned, her eyes red but fierce. "Don't you dare lose hope now. You're his father. He needs to see you strong." Her voice trembled, but her fire didn't fade. That was the woman he fell in love with. The bold, fearless nurse who had faced Seoul's mockery and never bowed. He sat beside her, taking Ji-ho's tiny hand between his. "You're strong like mommy," he murmured. "So fight, my son. Appa's here." By dawn, the fever broke. Charity had fallen asleep against the headboard, Ji-ho still in her arms. The sunlight touched her face gently, like the world itself was apologizing for the fear it caused. Jun-suk stood at the foot of the bed, tears in his eyes as he watched his family breathe peacefully again. He bent down and kissed Ji-ho's forehead. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Thank you for coming back to us." Charity stirred, opening her eyes slowly. "Is he okay?" Jun-suk smiled, brushing her hair back. "He's better. The fever's gone." She sat up quickly, pressing her lips to Ji-ho's cheek. "Oh, thank God." Then, without thinking, she turned and hugged Jun-suk tightly. For a long moment, neither spoke. They just held each other, surrounded by the soft beeping of the medical monitor and the quiet rhythm of their children's breaths. Later that morning, when the doctor confirmed Ji-ho was stable, Charity finally allowed herself to smile again. Min-ho climbed onto her lap, hugging his brother. "You see," she said softly, "your brother's a fighter, just like your daddy." Jun-suk knelt beside them, his hand on her knee. "And like their mother," he added. The twins, sensing the calm, clapped their tiny hands and shouted, "Appa, Mommy, hug." She laughed. "Oh, you two are little love coaches already." Jun-suk grinned and pulled them all in Charity, Ji-ho, Min-ho, into one big embrace. "This," he said quietly, "is what I prayed for when everyone said I couldn't have it." She looked at him, eyes full of tenderness. "And now you do. You've got everything money can't buy." That evening, they went up to the rooftop again, their safe place above the world. The city sparkled below like a sea of stars. Charity leaned against the railing, the twins asleep inside, their monitors glowing softly through the window. Jun-suk stood behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "You didn't break," he whispered. "Even when I did." She smiled faintly. "Mothers don't get to break. We fight with love as our weapon." He kissed her neck gently. "You're my strength, Charity. The world mocked me, but you made me believe I was whole." She turned, placing her palm over his heart. "And you gave me something no man ever could, peace." The wind brushed through her curls as they stood in silence, the city humming below. Jun-suk looked at her, eyes glistening. "I used to think I was cursed, but now I realize I was just waiting for you." Charity smiled through tears. "And I was waiting for a man brave enough to love loudly." He kissed her softly, their silhouettes framed by the Seoul skyline. Inside, their sons slept soundly. Proof that miracles do exist, that love can heal what science once declared impossible. And that night, As rain began to fall again, Charity whispered a silent prayer. Not for wealth, not for fame, but for more mornings like this, where love was louder than fear. Spring painted Seoul in gold and pink. Cherry blossoms drifted like confetti across the Han River, and the wind carried the laughter of families and lovers. Up in the hills, the Cha penthouse was brighter than ever. Fresh flowers on the table, the smell of pancakes and baby lotion in the air, and two little boys chasing each other through hallways filled with light. Charity sat on the sofa, hair in soft curls, sketching designs for a small clinic she wanted to open for children. Jiho was on her lap trying to steal her pen, while Minho sat beside her pretending to read a newspaper upside down. Appa says no news before coffee, Minho said seriously, and Charity burst out laughing. From the kitchen came Junsook's voice, calm and rich. Your Appa also says breakfast before cartoons. The boys groaned in chorus. New. He stepped out carrying a tray, strawberry pancakes for the twins, coffee for Charity, and tea for himself. The sight was almost surreal. The man Seoul once mocked as the lonely billionaire now looked like the poster of a perfect father. He placed the tray down and kissed Charity's cheek. You've been up since dawn again. Designing my dream, she said. I want to open that clinic before the twins turn 3. He smiled. Then we'll make it happen. You gave me a family. Let me fund your dream. She looked up at him, eyes soft. You always say that. Because it's true. By noon, the family went for a picnic at Namsan Park. Reporters still followed them sometimes, but Seoul's fascination had changed. Where there was once gossip, there was now admiration. Strangers smiled when they saw them. Old women whispered blessings. Charity spread the mat under a blooming cherry tree. The twins chased butterflies while Junsook sat beside her, watching them with a calm that only love could teach. Do you ever miss the old quiet? She asked. He chuckled. That silence was loneliness, not peace. This noise? He gestured toward the laughing twins. This is music. A breeze scattered petals across their hair. Charity brushed one off his shoulder. You look younger, you know? He raised a brow. Flattery. Truth, she said. Love suits you. He laughed, pulling her closer. And you suit my whole world. They kissed softly, their laughter blending with the twins' squeals and the chatter of Seoul below the hill. That evening, they returned home tired but happy. The twins fell asleep early, clutching their tiny stuffed bears. Charity tucked them in, whispering, Dream of angels, my little kings. Junsook waited on the balcony, 2 glasses of wine on the table, the city sparkling beneath. When she stepped out, he handed her one. For what are we toasting? She asked. To miracles, he said simply. To every night that felt impossible and every morning that proved otherwise. They clanked glasses, the sound light and clear. After a moment, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Charity froze. Junsook. He smiled, nervous for the first time in years. When I first met you, I didn't believe I could be loved. You changed that. You changed everything. So tonight, I want to give you something simple. My forever. Inside the box was a delicate ring shaped like 2 intertwined cherry blossoms. Tears filled her eyes. You don't have to. I want to, he said, sliding it onto her finger. Not as the billionaire the world sees, but as the man who owes you his soul. She covered her mouth, laughing and crying at once. You're still terrible at speeches. He grinned. Then marry me again and teach me better ones. She kissed him instead of answering. The city below blurred into lights and sound, the 2 of them framed against the Seoul skyline. 2 hearts that had beaten through storms and rumors to find peace. A year later, the clinic opened. Charity Heart's Pediatric Center stood at the heart of Seoul, its walls painted with murals of smiling children and cherry blossoms. At the ribbon cutting, cameras flashed, but the couple barely noticed. Their sons were running around with balloons, and all that mattered was joy. During the ceremony, Junsook whispered to her, Do you realize what you've done? You healed the city, Charity. You turned pain into purpose. She looked up at him. No, we did. He kissed her forehead as applause filled the air. That night, back at the penthouse, they watched fireworks from their rooftop. The twins clapped and screamed with excitement. Mommy! Colors! Yes, baby, she said, holding them close. Beautiful colors for a beautiful life. Jun-suk wrapped his arms around all three of them. Every color reminds me of you. The fireworks burst above. Red, blue, gold, painting their faces with light. Charity turned to him and whispered, Promise me we'll never let the world dim this. He smiled, eyes shining. Not even the world is strong enough. They stood there as the final firework bloomed, a heart shape glowing over the city. The twins gasped, Appa, it's love. Charity laughed, resting her head against his chest. They're right. Jun-suk kissed her hair. Forever, soul, he murmured, as if making a vow to the city that once broke him and to the woman who built him back up. Below them, life continued, cars rushing, lights flickering, stories unfolding. But above it all, on that rooftop, for souls lived a miracle no rumor could erase. And when the night finally quieted, Charity whispered, half asleep against him, You see, even after everything, love still wins. He smiled into her hair, holding her close. It always does, my love. It always does.
Hello besties, in this sweet story we learned that true love sees beyond flaws, status or what the world says you can't do. The Korean billionaire was mocked, labeled infertile and left broken, but one woman's love and boldness proved that miracles still exist. Besties, never let society define your worth and never stop believing in love that heals, restores and rewrites destiny. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly like, subscribe and share.